What's poppin', Kaiju? It's me, MT, and welcome back to the Heavy Spoiler Show. This is going to be a breakdown of the first 2 episodes of the new Apple TV series, Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. And spoilers for all the MonsterVerse movies, by the way, as this show is part of Legendary Pictures' overall cinematic universe. So we are definitely going to be touching on some of those movies. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. As the show starts, we get flashes of the 1973 footage of Kong's helicopter attack from the 2017 film Kong Skull Island, followed by the return of actor John Goodman in his role as Monarch researcher William Randa, after his debut in that very same Kong Skull Island movie. A debut that would also, unfortunately, feature his demise at the mouth of one of Skull Island's skull crawlers. So you know, that's what he gets for skipping arm day at the gym and letting his wife fall down a hole covered in bugs. Couldn't be me. I love my wife. Just kidding, I'm not married, because I'm single forever. For those of you who may not remember, Bill Randa was the Monarch researcher who gathered a team comprised of military personnel, animal trackers, and photographers and brought them to Kong's home of Skull Island in order to confirm the existence of massive unidentified terrestrial organisms, or MUTOS, and potentially destroy any MUTOS they find. But things quickly headed south and a bunch of army people died, so you know. Whoops. John Goodman is of course no stranger to secret monster corporations, as he has famously portrayed a far less intimidating monster in Pixar's Monsters, Inc. in 2001, so it's kind of funny that he's part of another monster organization yet again. But anyways, the intro continues with Goodman's Bill Randa leaving a message for an unnamed recipient while being chased by a giant-ass spider on Skull Island. He mentions that the person that the message was for would likely not care that he was dead, making me believe that this message could have been intended for Cate and Wyatt Russels' Lee Shaw, a man who saw the woman that he secretly loved get dropped down a hole due to Bill Randa's younger self being unable to hold on. However, since Bill Randa's bag that he throws into the ocean does end up being found within the office of Cate and Kentaro's mysterious father, there's also the possibility that the message could have been for him. However, William Randa and Lee Shaw's history during their younger days definitely leads me to believe that that video message was in fact for Shaw. Then we get a look at the heavily symbolic opening credits sequence that firmly captures the overall theme of dualities of the show. A show about 2 Randa women from 2 different time periods trying to uncover 2 different but linked mysteries. Mysteries spanning 2 countries involving the mysterious double life of Cate and Kentaro's father. A theme of dualities that I believe was chosen to embody the symmetrical design of the Monarch logo itself, with its 2 mirrored halves, which was an extremely clever creative decision in my opinion. First, we get a symmetrically mirrored look at the mysterious satellite map from Hiroshi Randa's office. A map that seemingly appears to contain the radioactive trail of the flying MUTO that Bill and Keiko track when they first meet in episode 2. After this, we see symmetrical dualities represented in the form of past and present classified Monarch documents, new and old Monarch uniforms, opposing photographs of Hiroshi Randa's 2 families, 2 pictures of Hiroshi Randa to represent his 2-timing nature, 2 photographs of Godzilla footprints taken in different eras, Monarch equipment from 2 different eras, 2 shots of San Francisco and Tokyo, with San Francisco's Transamerica Pyramid and Japan's Tokyo Tower at the center of their respective cities, 2 keys to Hiroshi Randa's file cabinet in 2 different cities, 2 calendars centered around the February and March of 1952 and 2015, a modern and old look at the radiation trail of the flying MUTO from episode 2, a shot of that same MUTO flying over a modern and past version of the same city, 2 newspapers from San Francisco and Tokyo detailing the 2014 San Francisco attack from the 2014 Godzilla movie, a Monarch agent in a gas mask with Tokyo's Rainbow Bridge on the left side of his face and San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge on the right side of his face, 2 Godzilla evacuation signs from California and Japan, and 2 MUTO warning signs from both Russia and America. Like, I truly love this opening sequence because this theme of dualities is represented in the very cinematography of the show itself. Like, the shots of this show have been purposely framed with dualities in mind, like how Cate and Kentaro are often placed on 2 opposite halves of the screen to represent their father's 2 families, and how researcher Keiko Randa is placed in the middle of Bill Randa and Lee Shaw to represent the opposing natures of the 2 men that have a deep affection for her, and how the 2 black and white flower pictures in Kentaro's family living room have inverted colors, or even how one side of of this frame here has a Japanese restaurant with Japanese text, while the restaurant on the right side here has English text with more American-style offerings to symbolize the story's overall split between Tokyo and San Francisco. Like, there is a lot of intention with the way a lot of these shots in this show have been filmed, and I love it so much, and I can't wait to see how this theme of dualities is going to play out in the overall monster narrative. But anyways, as the episode starts, we see that Cate Randa lands in Japan on April 1st, 2015, April Fool's Day, one whole year after the devastating Godzilla event in San Francisco. But later on in the episode, Cate is revealed to have been part of the convoy of school buses crossing the Golden Gate Bridge right before Godzilla arrived. And you can sort of see her school bus stopped in front of the destroyed bridge in the 2014 Godzilla movie behind another school bus that managed to get on the other side. I like how the costume designers had Cate be the only person in the airport wearing pink to let Cate stand out amongst the rest of the travelers that are primarily wearing either white, black, or blue. But anyways, as Cate grabs a taxi, we can see her exiting Terminal 2 of the Haneda Tokyo International Airport. Then the taxi drives her down Tokyo's Rainbow Bridge from the opening sequence as the text Tokyo 2015 pops up on the screen. And as the taxi drives into the city, you can see images of Godzilla graffitied with a red no symbol around him, showing Tokyo's past history and trauma with Godzilla himself. I'm not sure what these signs are actually going to achieve though, because there is very little chance that Godzilla is going to whip out his reading glasses to read and adhere to a no Godzilla's allowed sign. But hey, whatever makes the people of Tokyo feel safe, right? But anyways, I found it hilarious when the taxi driver said the San Francisco attacks were staged with CGI because it's sort of a meta commentary on how the Godzilla property has advanced over the years in cinema from the days of a man in a Godzilla costume terrorizing a scale model of Tokyo. And the taxi driver having a monster conspiracy podcast very much reminds me of Bernie Hayes' Titan Truth podcast from Godzilla vs. Kong. But anyways, after Katie meets the other half of her family for the first time, the show sends us back in time to 1959 Kazakhstan. As a young Billy Randa, played by Anders Holm, drives the gang to their destination, he wears the baseball hat of the Negro League Kansas City Monarchs, a team that could have potentially served as inspiration for the name of the Monarch organization, before they adopted the Monarch butterfly motif for the organization's logo. And later, when the Godzilla early warning system starts blaring, Kentaro's mom calls Godzilla by his original Japanese name, Gojira, a name given to Godzilla as a result of a mashing of the Japanese words Gorira and Kujira, meaning whale. So Gojira literally means gorilla whale, which is quite fitting considering that Godzilla is a large aquatic monster that stands upright like a gorilla. But anyways, after Cate's traumatic flashback to the Golden Gate Bridge Godzilla attack from the 2014 Godzilla movie, she gets invited to her father's Tokyo office and rips off his version of the radiation trail satellite map that is introduced in episode 2 to reveal a safe that opens when Cate enters the 5-digit code 77558, even though the safe is clearly meant to be a 4-digit code safe. So either this was a slight editing mistake on the show's part, or the safe only registered the last 4 numbers 7558, which Cate chose based on Kentaro's birth month of July, which is the 7th month, Cate's day, which appears to be on the 5th, Kentaro's mother's birth month of May, and Cate's mother's birthday on the 8th, a prime example of this show's theme of dualities at work. However, one particular thing of note about after she puts in the code is her reaction to it, because it seems like Cate is upset that both her and her mom came second in this combination, possibly implying which family Hiroshi loved more. And later, when Cate and Kentaro head on over to Mei's apartment, Cate notices a poster of a massive spider attacking a city that Kentaro has apparently designed in the past, very much showing how much Godzilla and the rise of kaiju across the world has started to affect art and media. However, this piece of art might just foreshadow a conflict that Katie and Kentaro might have to face later on in the season with the same creepy crawly insect kaiju that caused Grandma Keiko Randa to fall down a hole in the 1950s. Like, something tells me those insects are still alive in 2015. But anyways, later on, when Collins runs to inform Tim of Mei's accessing of classified Monarch documents, you can see that Tim has a map of Japan on his wall, pointing to his specific interest in the kaiju Godzilla. And as Mei is looking over all that data with Cate and Kentaro, we can see a picture of what appears to be Wyatt Russell's young Lee Shaw holding a helmet while wearing a uniform next to 3 other people doing the same thing, with all 4 of them standing in front of a large tank tank with the Monarch symbol on it. But that comes right before we see the image of the large bat-looking kaiju that we'll end up meeting at the end of episode 2 that Bill, Lee, and Cate barely escaped from. Followed by images of a giant piece of technology shaped like a ball with a ton of wiring coming out of it, very much looking like an early atomic bomb, one of the skull crawlers from Skull Island, the USS Lawton that Bill Randa survived on, an elevated atomic bomb, and of course finally, a picture of Bigfoot, confirming Bigfoot's existence in Legendary's Monsterverse. If we do not get a Bigfoot versus Kong movie at some point, what is even the point of the cinematic universe? I mean, seriously. But anyways, right after this, we get a flashback to the last time Cate saw her father 5 days after Godzilla's attack on San Francisco. But what's so strange about this moment is how damn fast this dude got to Kate's location as soon as she gave it to him. Like, what the hell was going on there? Did Monarch invent some type of teleportation device that we don't know about? Like, that was abnormally fast. Like, I truly wonder if we're going to get some type of explanation for that moment in the future, because I would very much like to have one, please. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But anyways, after this, Cate, Kentaro, and May find a picture of Keiko standing in a giant Godzilla footprint before we get a flashback of what looks like Keiko falling to her death after being covered by a bunch of baby kaiju insects on a high rope. However, there is a slight chance here that this could be a misdirect, as all of those insects covering her body could have shielded Keiko from the impact of the fall. And since it seems that these insects were not really interested in biting Keiko for food, I wouldn't be surprised if we learned that Keiko survived the fall and became an accidental mother to all of these babies who could have possibly imprinted onto her due to Cate being the first motherly face that they saw. But that's just a wild theory. For now, Keiko is dead until the story says otherwise. But anyways, moving on to episode 2, we get a flashback to young Lee Shaw's time in the service in the Philippines circa 1952, where we learn a little bit more of Shaw's personality, specifically how he's a good-hearted soldier who cannot abide by bullies, a character type that Wyatt Russell knows well while playing the wannabe Captain America John Walker in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Lee's disdain for bullies seems to carry into his older life when we see Kurt Russell Shaw cut off his ankle bracelet as a middle finger to the Monarch bullies, keeping him under close watch. The bar fight that the young Lee Shaw engaged in apparently happened in a bar called the Bam Bang Bar in the Luzon region of the Philippines. And right before they take that fight outside, you can see a poster for a boxing match on that wall, which I thought was a fun way to joke about the fight actually happening on screen with the power of cinematography. And while Colonel Puckett is assigning Shaw to his escort mission, you can see a framed picture of US President Harry Truman behind him, as well as the Filipino flag. And later, as Shaw and Keiko arrive to their destination, the song Hound Dog by Big Mama Thornton plays on the radio. However, though that song was recorded in 1952, it wouldn't be released until a year after in 1953. So technically, those two should not be listening to that song at all. But hey, they also shouldn't be chasing radioactive monsters who will either squish them or give them cancer. So I guess Keiko really can do whatever she wants. She's a bad bitch and you can't kill her. Unless you're a bunch of baby kaiju insects, then you could probably kill her. But anyways, after the intro, we see a sleepless Kentaro ditch his regular work routine to head to his dad's office. And when he does, he looks at the family photos Hiroshi kept on his desk, including a family picture to Disneyland, as the Cinderella castle can be seen behind them. And since Disneyland is located in California, that trip could have possibly been a trip that Hiroshi went to go visit Kate's family on the side. Then after Kentaro violently pushes those pictures to the side, he eventually unlocks his father's secret cabinet to find some old Monarch files. Files that include a lot of Lee Shaw's military documentation. On the left side of the first folder, we can see a picture of a young Leland Lafayette Shaw III next to his military ID that reveals that his birthday is on August 3rd, 1924, making Lee around 28 years old when he first meets Keiko in 1952, and an impressive 91 years old when he meets Cate and Kentaro in 2015. I genuinely hope that I am healthy enough to run from a sketchy government-affiliated monster hunting organization when I'm 91, because god dang, I can't even do it at 31. But anyways, under that military ID and photograph is a letter from the US Army reprimanding Shaw for his act of violence in that bar in the Philippines, noting that Shaw's continuous lack of discipline and inability to keep his emotions in check is what led him to being confined and losing 2/3 of his paycheck for 3 whole months. And we also know that Shaw grew up with his mother at 6 Main Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma by the time he had enlisted in the military, implying that Lee's mother might have left their father because of his alcoholism. When Kentaro opens opens the next folder, we see Shaw's license on the left page. But under that, we can see a hotel room receipt for a room 440 reserved under the name Nodine or possibly even Nadine. Then on the other side of the folder, we see a brochure and welcome letter for the Futaba Resting Home Social Corporation facility that Kentaro brings Cate and May to towards the end of episode 2. The word Futaba actually means twins or the number 2, which is this show's subtle way of continuing that theme of dualities. And when we get a flashback scene to 1952 as Keiko and Lee are surprised by Bill Randa in the Philippines, notice how Lee Shaw's finger is on the trigger as he points his gun to the head of an unarmed man. Like, that is insanely irresponsible gun etiquette, as gun triggers are extremely sensitive. However, considering Lee Shaw's military file, that dude has a little bit of history with not thinking things through while on the job. But anyways, popping back to the future, when Kentaro first gets back home after failing to get his father's files back from a very curious May, he puts on his slippers featuring a black samurai and a white samurai, another element of duality cinematography. The clothes that Kentaro and his mother wear in that scene as they rip up old family photos seem to echo these two samurai, as Kentaro's incredibly kind, bright, and warm mother Amiko wears white, while the angry and brooding Kentaro wears black. And they rip up black and white photos in front of those framed black and white flowers with inverted colors to symbolize how Kentaro and his mother complement each other and form their whole true family, because they are all each other have always needed. Like, there is hardcore yin-yang type symbolism in that moment for sure. But shifting back to the 1950s, Bill and Keiko make their way to the USS Lawton, the same ship the older John Goodman Bill Randa references to Samuel L. Jackson's Preston Packard at gunpoint 21 years later in Kong Skull Island. Echoing what his young self tells Keiko in this episode, Bill Randa was serving in the Navy when a kaiju attacked his ship, killing everyone aboard but him. And ever since then, Bill Randa has been on the hunt to prove that MUTOS exist and that they are very dangerous. And as Bill Randa goes through his old chest full of personal items, you can see a baseball mitt with a baseball inside, along with the Monarch's baseball hat that we see Bill wearing a couple of years in the future. Kind of hilarious how the baseball is still neatly placed in the center of the mitt when this ship literally got tossed thousands of miles from where the Lawton was initially attacked. And later, when May and Cate start their journey on the run from Monarch's intimidating Tim, Cate references the Bourne identity when referring to May as Jason Bourne for having a bag full of passports and rolls of money. Then after this, they run into Kentaro on the street, who reveals that he is on the run as well. And during this moment, the street number 6116 can be seen placed in between both Kentaro and Cate, which also again contributes to that duality theme, considering that the number 6116 is a symmetrical palindrome. And finally, at the very end of the episode, the 1950s gang finally runs into that dragon of a kaiju responsible for all those sky radiation trails. And as it goes to eat those three humans, you can see the same disgusting goopy saliva that Cate and Bill saw all over the boat, definitely implying that the USS Lawton is this creature's new home. But I'm very curious why this creature did not choose to eat the dead bodies on the boat. I wonder if this monster was just trying to lick the radiation off of these people and wasn't really interested in eating them for sustenance. But that is it for this breakdown of episodes 1 and 2 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. You can follow me at Mastertainment on Twitter or Instagram or wherever I am on the internet if you guys want to see me post some weird shit. But most importantly, don't forget to follow Heavy Spoilers here on YouTube, because we got some really great stuff for you guys on the regular. But yes, you guys are great. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.